She was just walking her son home from practice. No cameras, no crowds. Just a quiet mom in a t-shirt and a 10-year-old boy with a soccer ball under his arm. Then came the two men, loud and mocking, looking for someone to shove around. And when they laid hands on her, she didn't even raise a hand back. One of them slapped her, right there in broad daylight with her son watching. The crowd gasped. Her boy cried out and grabbed her side. But she didn't retaliate. She just whispered 2 words to her son. "Stand behind me." Because the men who thought she was just a quiet mom had no idea who they were touching. And when she moved, when her hands did what only trained operators know how to do, that's when everyone learned the truth. Now, before we show you exactly how it unfolded and the moment they realized this mother was a Navy SEAL, drop a comment telling us where in the world you're watching from. Tap like, hit subscribe, and turn on the bell icon because what they started, she finished. The parking lot outside Fairview Plaza smelled like cut grass and engine heat. Late afternoon sun hit windshields and storefronts. Not the kind of place you expect trouble. Lieutenant Commander Jenna Marshall stepped out of the dry cleaners with a folded uniform bag on her shoulder and her son's hoodie in her hand. She wore cargo pants, a faded navy t-shirt, and mirrored sunglasses that did half her talking. Her son, Eli, skipped ahead with his soccer ball tucked under one arm. "You said we could get smoothies," he reminded her. "You say that like I forgot," Jenna smiled. "But you also said you wouldn't slide tackle during recess." "That wasn't a slide. It was controlled deceleration," he grinned. "That's not a word a 10-year-old should use after falling on concrete," she said. They crossed the lot toward the smoothie shop. Teen skateboarders drifted between carts. Parents wrapped up errands. It was the usual after-school quiet. Jenna scanned the area without moving her head. A van with dark tint running at the far end. A man arguing on speakerphone. The skateboarders looping back around. Nothing concerning, but her instincts never turned off. Inside the smoothie shop, 3 families stood in line. Jenna sent Eli to grab a window seat while she ordered. As she waited, a sharp voice behind her cut through the noise. "Move it, lady." 2 young men, early 20s, low baseball caps, cheap cologne, pushed past her. One muttered something crude. She ignored them, staying calm, eyes only flicking toward her son to confirm he was safe. She got the drinks and stepped outside, then saw Eli standing stiff against the plaza wall, clutching his soccer ball too tightly. She moved fast, but without panic. "Hey, tough guy," one of the men was saying. "You think being a little mama's boy gets you out of saying excuse me?" Both stood in front of Eli. Not local, not friendly, definitely looking for trouble. Jenna set the smoothies down and stepped between them and her son. "He's 10. You're 20. Adjust your posture accordingly," she said. The shorter man laughed. "Now she's giving orders." "No," Jenna said calmly. "I'm giving you an out." They smirked and looked at Eli. "Kid looks scared." "He's not," she replied. "But he's about to learn what a bad decision looks like from 6 feet away." The smaller one stepped forward. "What? You gonna call your husband?" "He doesn't take these calls anymore," Jenna said. "But I do." That made them hesitate just for a moment. The taller man reached toward Eli, maybe to pat his head, maybe to provoke him. Eli flinched. Jenna's hand intercepted the movement in a blur. "Back off." Her stance shifted, shoulders squared, heels aligned, chin slightly angled. A veteran sitting outside the bakery noticed immediately. He put down his coffee. The men still thought this was a game. "Mom," Eli whispered. "Stand behind me," Jenna said, calm, final. The entire plaza seemed to go quiet. A stroller wheel squeaked. Cart hit the curb. Even the skateboarders stopped. The taller man smirked. "You're real serious for someone blocking a sidewalk." "He doesn't need to talk," Jenna said. "And neither do you." The wiry one laughed. "She thinks she's in charge." Eli tightened his grip on the soccer ball until the seams creaked. His shoulders curled inward, chin dipped, but his eyes never left his mother. He knew her stances. He'd seen the stillness before. Once when a stranger yelled at her in a grocery store. Another time when a dog lunged at him in the park. But he had never seen her like this. The taller man stepped closer, voice dropping. still cocky but now defensive. You want respect? Start by teaching your kid to watch where he's going. Jenna didn't react to the insult. She glanced at Eli, her eyes softening just long enough to give him silent instruction. Not fear, but focus. Then she looked back at the man. You have two options, she said. You leave, or you apologize. The wiry one scoffed. Or you what? That's when the taller man reached again, careless this time. His fingers brushed Eli's shoulder, casual, entitled. Eli stepped back on instinct. Jenna moved. She caught the man's wrist. Not twisting, not striking, just stopping his momentum. But that tiny interruption was all he needed to escalate. Don't touch me, he snapped, yanking his arm back. Then came the slap. A sharp, open-palmed hit born from ego, not strength. Cracked across Jenna's face. The entire plaza froze. Someone gasped. A woman near the bakery covered her mouth. Even the skateboarders straightened with instinctive tension. Mom! Eli cried. Jenna didn't stumble. She didn't blink. The red mark rising on her cheek was the only sign she'd been struck. She stepped half a pace toward Eli, placing a steady hand on his shoulder. Stay behind me, she said, calm, precise. The two men grinned nervously, mistaking her stillness for surrender. See? The tall one bragged, playing to the invisible crowd. Just a little reminder. The wiry one laughed. Guess you'll think twice now, huh? Jenna didn't answer. Her posture shifted, shoulders relaxing, chin leveling, hands lowering to her sides. Her weight settled into her heels with measured control. Eli saw it. He saw her eyes change. He saw her jaw align. And for the first time, something clicked. His mother wasn't frozen. She wasn't afraid. She was calculating. The moment after the slap stretched thin. No one spoke. A pigeon fluttered somewhere distant. The only sound was Eli's quick breathing behind her. The men still smirked, but their confidence was shrinking. They had reached their high point, and now the air felt unfamiliar to them. Around the plaza, bystanders weren't just watching anymore. They were preparing. Phones unlocked. Screens ready. Not recording yet, but close. Should we call someone? A woman whispered. Call who? Her partner replied. I think she's about to handle it. Near the smoothie shop bench, the older man from earlier, retired military, judging by posture, adjusted his cap and leaned forward. He wasn't stepping in. He was assessing. The taller man stepped back and stretched as if shaking off the tension. You gonna say something, lady? Jenna's breathing changed. Not louder. Not faster. Just deeper. Controlled. The kind of breath taken before a precision shot. Before a dive. Before a decision. The wiry one squinted. What are you, like, into yoga or something? She blinked once. Slow. You don't want to know. He scoffed louder now, trying to revive the crowd's support. Come on. You want to stand there like you're made of steel? Let's see something. The taller one chimed in, tension creeping into his voice. Yeah, you think you're untouchable because people are watching? Hit me back. Go on. Jenna didn't respond. Her feet shifted half an inch. Her weight angled. Her hips aligned. A dozen tiny adjustments no civilian would notice, but anyone with training would recognize instantly. Eli felt it. She didn't need to tell him anything. He stepped back on instinct, gripping the ball like it could anchor him. Mom, he whispered. Jenna tilted her head slightly, speaking only to him. Eyes open, she said. Don't look away. It wasn't a warning. It was permission. At the edge of the crowd, an off-duty base security officer stepped closer, reading her stance like terrain. The taller man exhaled sharply, trying to shake the weight in the air. This is stupid. She's not gonna do anything. The wiry man raised his voice, desperate now. Yeah, you're all posture. You don't scare anyone. But the crowd didn't believe that anymore. And that was the shift, the moment everything turned. The taller man moved first. Cowards always move first when they think they still have the upper hand. He reached, not for Eli this time, but for Jenna's shoulder. No warning. No pause. Jenna pivoted smoothly, redirecting the man's center of gravity and trapping his arm with a controlled step. Using only his momentum, she sent him twisting hard onto the concrete. He hit the ground louder than the slap he'd given her. A gasp rippled across the plaza. Someone shrieked. Before his partner could react, Jenna's stance changed again. She stepped forward, precise, centered, and intercepted his wild swing. A forearm block, a redirection, then a low sweeping step unbalanced him completely. He stumbled backward into the curb, landing hard on his elbow. Neither man was injured, but both suddenly understood they were in front of someone operating far outside anything they were prepared to deal with. Jenna didn't advance. She didn't gloat. She simply stood between the men and her son, calm, level, breathing steady. The taller man groaned, rolling onto his side. "What the hell?" "You're done here," Jenna said firmly. The wiry one pushed himself up again, face flushed with confusion and bruised pride. "You think you can just step back," she said, not loud, just final. It stopped him instantly. Around her, phones were filming now. A semicircle had formed. Mothers, teenagers, a barista half out the smoothie shop door. No one looked amused anymore. What they'd just seen didn't match what they expected. The older man from the bench, retired military by posture alone, finally stood, arms crossed. "Well," he muttered, "that was amateur work from them." The two men sat dazed on the ground, blinking up at the sky like the sun had betrayed them. Jenna scanned the area, assessing, pulse steady. Behind her, Eli hadn't moved, but the fear had left his face. "Mom," he whispered, "where did you learn that?" She looked back at him, just enough to meet his eyes. "At work." A couple in the crowd chuckled, softly, unsure if humor was allowed. The wiry man tried again, now less angry and more stunned. "You crazy or something?" Jenna didn't even look at him. "Try anything else," she said calmly. "And the next thing you feel will be regret, not pain." It wasn't a threat. It was a certainty. He sank back onto the curb and looked away. The crowd wasn't watching the men anymore. They were watching her. Not for entertainment, but for clarity, confirmation, and she gave them nothing extra. No smirk, no victory posture. She simply walked back to Eli, picked up his smoothie from the bench, and handed it to him. "It's still cold," he said softly. "That's because I moved quickly." Behind them, the realization finally hit the taller man. She hadn't fought them. She had controlled them. Nearly half a minute passed before anyone spoke. A man in a gray marine t-shirt nodded slowly, almost to himself. "That's not just anybody," he said aloud. "She's a Navy SEAL." It wasn't a guess. It was recognition. People didn't question him. They'd already sensed it, the precision, the restraint, the efficiency. Jenna hadn't been defending herself. She had managed the situation from the first moment. The wiry man slumped on the curb, hoodie half off, unsure if he should look bigger or disappear entirely. The taller one rubbed his ribs, head down. They knew exactly what they'd stumbled into. Eli stepped closer to his mother, eyes wide as the crowd continued to adjust their understanding of her. "Is it true?" he asked quietly. "What that guy said?" Jenna didn't rush her answer. She watched a mother guide her child to the car, whispering something that would become a long memory. Finally, she looked at her son. "Yes." Eli stared. "You're a Navy SEAL." "I was." "For how long?" "A while." He looked toward the two men, now defeated by their own choices. "They hit you," he said. She nodded. "They made a mistake. You could have done worse to them." "I could have," she said. "But then I wouldn't be your mother. I'd just be someone who fights." Eli held his smoothie. "You didn't fight back." "I didn't have to," she replied, "because I wasn't there to win." "Then what were you doing?" She looked at him evenly. "Teaching." Across the sidewalk, the man in the marine shirt stepped forward and lifted 2 fingers in a crisp salute. Nothing dramatic, just respect between people who understood the weight behind it. Jenna gave a small nod back. The crowd slowly dispersed like a tide receding. No applause, no noise, just the quiet understanding of what they had witnessed. And the two men remained silent, because Jenna's restraint had been their mercy. A police cruiser pulled in, lights flashing but no siren. They hadn't been called by her or by any bystander. A clerk from the pharmacy had heard the slap and called it in. 2 officers stepped out. Standard suburban blues, alert but non-aggressive. "What happened here?" the male officer asked. The marine shirt man answered first. "Ma'am de-escalated a situation," he said, gesturing toward the 2 men. "They made contact with her son. They escalated." She responded precisely. The female officer looked to Jenna. "You're the one who was struck?" Jenna gave a single nod. "Any injuries?" the officer asked. "No," she said. The taller man on the ground groaned. "She threw me on concrete." The marine nearby let out a short laugh. "No, son, you threw yourself. She just let gravity finish the job." The officer stepped toward Jenna and Eli. "Ma'am, we'll need your name for the record," the female officer said gently. "Witnesses already said you didn't provoke anything." Jenna handed her ID over without a word. The officer read it, eyebrows lifting. "Lieutenant Commander, Retired Special Operations?" Jenna nodded. The male officer blinked. "You're a Navy SEAL?" "Former." Both officers exchanged a quick look, then glanced at the 2 men on the curb. The wiry one muttered, "She didn't say that up front." "Shouldn't have needed to," the Marine added quietly. Statements were taken. Witnesses stepped forward, each giving the same simple summary. She warned them. They touched her son first. She didn't start it. A woman handed over phone footage already recorded. When things settled, the male officer looked back at Jenna. "Do you wish to press charges?" Jenna glanced at Eli. His fear had faded. Something else had replaced it. Understanding. She looked back at the officer. "No, I don't need them charged. I need them to remember." The officers paused. Then the female officer nodded. "Understood." Eli tugged on his mother's sleeve. "Why not?" he whispered. For the first time all afternoon, Jenna knelt. "I level with her son. Because if they ever try this again with someone who can't defend themselves," she said softly, "there won't be a lesson left to learn." Eli nodded. She stood again, steady and composed. The taller man looked up at her. Not angry now, just aware. For the first time that day, he finally understood who he'd been dealing with. The Marine stepped forward and handed Jenna a small folded card. "What's this?" she asked. "Local Veterans Resource Council," he said. "We run school talks, community mentoring. If you ever want to speak, we'd be honored." She accepted with a nod. "I'll think about it." The officers escorted the 2 men toward the cruiser, not in cuffs, but in a silence that carried its own weight. As the lights faded down the street, the crowd fully dispersed. The plaza returned to its normal quiet hum, but everyone there felt the difference. They hadn't witnessed force. They'd witnessed control. By the time Jenna and Eli began walking again, no one stopped them. But every passerby offered a small, respectful nod, the kind given to someone who had just shown who they truly were. Eli walked close beside her, smoothie in one hand, soccer ball under his arm. His steps were slower, thoughtful. They didn't speak at first. Jenna never feared silence. She moved the way she fought. Calm, measured, completely aware. Finally, Eli spoke. "Why didn't you tell me before?" She didn't ask what he meant. She knew. "That I was a SEAL?" she asked. He nodded. "Or that you can do all that?" She smiled faintly. "Because it's not who I am all the time. It's what I train to do when I have to." "But that guy hit you," he said quietly. "I've been hit before. Didn't it make you mad?" "It made me alert," she said. "That's not the same as angry." He thought about that. "I thought you'd hit him back." "I could have," she said gently. "But then he wouldn't have learned anything. And neither would you." Eli looked up, eyes clearer now. "You weren't trying to win." "No," she said. "I was trying to show you what not to become." They passed the smoothie bench, now empty. The sun dipped behind the buildings, stretching long shadows across the pavement. Jenna let Eli walk slightly ahead, watching how he carried himself. He didn't look shaken anymore. He looked older. When they reached the car, She opened the back door for him. He climbed in, wiping his hands with a napkin she handed over. Just before she closed the door, he asked softly, "Are you going to tell anyone?" She paused with her hand on the handle. "No," she said, "but I'm pretty sure they already did." A small smile touched his face, quiet, but lasting. For the first time, he truly understood who his mother was. Not just the woman who made his lunches and reminded him to wear his helmet, but someone underestimated once and never twice. Jenna got in the driver's seat, checked her mirror, and started the engine. As they pulled out, she saw the Marine across the plaza, still standing outside the bakery. He didn't wave, just gave a single, knowing nod. She returned it, and drove on. Would you have stayed calm if someone put their hands on you in front of your own child? Do you believe real strength comes from control or retaliation? Tell me in the comments below. I read every single one. If the story reminded you what true discipline looks like, tap the like button. Make sure you're subscribed and turn on the bell icon so you never miss a mission. Share this video with someone who still thinks staying silent means surrender. And don't go just yet. Your next operation is already on the screen. Watch it now and I'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same channel, same discipline.